Y'all, let's talk about our brain real quick, because if you're somebody who's trying to grow in emotional intelligence, decision making, habits, trying to figure out why you do what you do, it all starts with understanding your brain. So I'm gonna do my best job to bring it down as simple as possible so that way you can actually go, that makes sense. Okay, so here's the thing: you got to start with the bottom of your brain. This is what in science they call the reptilian brain. I like to call the executor. Reason why I call it the executor, because it's responsible for the functioning. So let's say somebody goes boo and you get scared, and then you like heart starts pounding, or let's say you're working out and you get sweaty. It's responsible for body functioning, heart pounding, goosebumps, all those different things. That's the bottom. That's the executor. The next piece right here, this is my favorite piece. Hear me when I say this. Emotions cannot be controlled, but they can be managed. All right. This comes from the entertainer space. The reason why I call this the entertainer space, where in research they call it the limbic, is because music, movies, all those things, they make us feel a certain way, right? We watch something, we're like, oh my gosh, it sparks a feeling and emotion. Every single person is emotional because every single person has emotions, period. In a discussion, there's no argument there, right? So the second part, the limbic, that's called what I like to call the entertainer. This is another way for you to think of it. Now, the third space, the top of our brain, bang, right here, that's the executive, right? I think of it as a CEO. It is the part of our brain that's responsible for the planning, the doing, that like I'm going to execute on this part. When you think about it though, it's responsible for the thinking and the rationale and the reasoning. So when you're thinking about your brain, I want you to think about it this way. This is the process. So all three of these aspects, they just talk to each other all day long. There may be a time where your executive automatically starts talking to, or your executor starts talking to your executive's talking to your emotions and feelings, the entertainer. Like these conversations are happening all the time. The thing is, a lot of people don't notice, right? Like you may feel or think something and then not even have the ability to actually act because your body acted first. Or something may happen in your body and then you have a thought and you're like, oh snap. And then it goes this way. So here's what you really, really, really need to know that boils all down. That your mind or your brain is your mind in action. Okay? Your brain itself is your mind in action. Anytime that something happens here in your brain, your mind triggers, right? It happens an emotion and a feeling. So emotions and feelings, again, they happen. You cannot control them, but you can manage them. That's the whole part of emotional intelligence, but what I like to call emotional confidence, right? So if something happens in my mind, an emotion and a feeling occurs. What then happens is a thought, right? That's at the tip. The next thing is a behavior. So when you're trying to figure out why you do what you do or how to grow in emotional intelligence, which is really growing in self-awareness, then the next piece is self-management. That's why I said emotions cannot be controlled, but they can be managed. Because if you remember, your entertainer is just responding to what's going on, right? If I remember, my entertainer, the limbic system, it just responds to what's happening. It gets triggered. Things start happening and your brain does what it wants to do because your brain, right, in your mind is your brain in action. So remember, my mind is my brain in action. Everybody has emotions, so everybody's emotional. Emotions cannot be controlled, but emotions can be managed because what happens are thoughts and emotions. Emotions and feelings happen, which trigger my thoughts, which impact my behavior. So if you're trying to change your behavior, you have to start thinking about your mind. So that's the best way that I feel like I can break down the mind in the simplest way. So if you're looking for some verbiage, just refer back to this. You got your executor at the bottom, body functioning. You got your entertainer, emotions, thoughts, feelings, all of that stuff. And the next piece, your executive. That's your rationale. That's your thinking. That's where the action takes place. If you like this kind of content, obviously make sure you like, follow, share, those kind of things. But also tap into the comments and let me know if you want me to dive deeper into this and how we can now grow in our emotional. You know what? I'm going to do it regardless because I like teaching about it. But talk to me in the comments so that way I can know what your thoughts are.